This podcast is brought to you by Blue Guardian, the only prop firm that protects their traders.
Right now, I'm at 700,000 in funding. The number isn't necessarily as important because a few months ago, I said if I hit $1 million, I would leave, right? Because and systematically in my head, I'm like, okay, if I can make 2 to 5% a month on $1 million, that's way more than like I'll ever need. There was like 3 or 4 guys. They were doing pretty well. Like they kind of had their own strategies or whatnot. And so I saw them winning and I reached out to one of them and I was like, hey man, like I see you're kind of doing your thing here. And at that time, he was about to found his own group. I was like, hey, can I just join your group? And it seems like you know what you're doing. I just really want to learn a strategy that works for me. And he was like, it's more technical based. It's not kind of like what you've been doing in the past. I was like, cool, anything, just help me. And it's crazy because that person actually grew up to be QBanks.
Our sponsor, Blue Guardian, is the only prop firm that gives their traders a tool to protect them from hitting their max daily loss and overtrading. It's super simple to use. Just set the Guardian Protector each day from your dashboard. Did you also know that they've just released an unlimited time evaluation with a 0 trading days requirement, giving you plenty of time to hit their low 8 and 4% targets, making it super fast to get funded. Plus, it's cheaper than the 40-day time limit evaluation. Check out the link and coupon in the description to get 10% off your next Blue Guardian evaluation. Right, folks, here we are on Trading Up. We've got Blake in the house all the way over there in Michigan. He is a $700,000 funded trader who has a day job and also trades for his living. And I think they sort of balance each other out at the moment. So welcome to the show, Blake. So great to hear or have you on and about to hear your story.
Yeah. Hey, Cam, I'm happy to be here. Long time listener, man. So I'm definitely eager to share my story.
Cool. Okay. Well, let's dive into it. Find out how you got into trading first.
Yeah. So I've been involved in day trading, specifically like Forex and indexes for about the last like 10 years coming up on, like it was December of 2014. And so I was in college at the time and I had a friend. I was involved in a whole lot of like network marketing, like selling type of opportunities and stuff like that. And I wasn't making any money. I was like trying to be a salesman and I'm not that. And so one day, it was this particular company. It was called like Wake Up Now or something like that. It was like a long time ago. And one of my friends that I met in the company had pulled me aside one day and he was like, hey man, have you ever like thought about day trading? He's like, you're kind of quiet. You're not like obviously the best at this like whole like pitching and selling thing. Like, have you ever thought about like, trading stocks? And it was like 2014. So this is like before the Forex craze hit and like before I guess the network marketing MLM, like Forex stuff had hit. So nobody had really I didn't know anything about this. And nobody I had ever talked to had known anything about like day trading. And so, my first impression was like those old guys in suits on Wall Street that kind of like trade stocks back and forth. And I was like, okay, that sounds kind of cool, but like it also sounds like it would be really hard. And it doesn't sound like I can make a lot of money. It sounds like I need a lot of money to do that. And he pitched me the idea of like, Forex. And it was something that was like really, really new to me. It was really cool just kind of see how stuff worked in the background. I didn't really understand how the charts went up, but I just understood that people made money from it. And so at one point, he had me join a Facebook group and there was a bunch of different people in the group that came from like all over. And like I said, this is late 2014, early 2015. So like people at that time didn't necessarily have like all these mentors and all these resources and prop firms and all that stuff like that. And so, I saw a bunch of people in there with a bunch of different strategies. And one guy showed me his, and, I started trading. I think by March of 2015 was that like my first like actual, like, I'm going to take a position. I'm going to try this trading thing out. And I had a $300 account. I remember this to this day. I had a $300 account. And in that week, I turned $300 into $900. And I thought I was going to be rich in a week, and like everybody does. And I remember taking a trade on Euro USD during London session and then going to sleep on it. I was like, I don't need stop losses. I know what the market's going to do. Right. And so that next day, I think I blew that entire account. So $1,000, $50 in a day. And so, but I was hooked at that time. So I had a group of friends and we would stay up trading. We would literally go over each other's houses and stay up trading during London session. And, during that time, I was taking way more L's than wins. And, I just couldn't make anything. I couldn't make anything work.
Do you remember what you were doing from a strategy point of view at that point?
Yeah. So the first initial strategy that I was taught was actually it was the market maker method. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but um yeah, it was taught that. And there was some good stuff there. Honestly, there's still some stuff there that I employ into my trading to this day, but I just couldn't make it. I couldn't make the strategy work. It just wasn't clear enough for me. And granted, I was learning off like a bootleg copy of someone's like class from like 2010 or something like that. So I didn't have like all the pieces that I needed, and like I didn't really understand the markets themselves. Like there's some fundamental stuff that I just didn't understand, as far as like being a technical trader and a fundamental trader. I had no idea like what technicals were. I was just literally following this simple strategy and trying to make these EAs work, and I was losing way more than I was winning. And so I went back to that Facebook group. It's crazy. And in that group, there was like 3 or 4 guys that they were doing pretty well. Like they kind of had their own strategies or whatnot. And so I saw them winning, and I reached out to one of them, and I was like, "Hey man, like I see you're kind of doing your thing here." And like it's at that time he was about to found his own group. And I was like, "Hey, can I just join your group? And it seems like you know what you're doing. I just really want to learn a strategy that works for me." And he was like, "It's more technical based. It's not kind of like what you've been doing in the past." I was like, "Cool. Anything, just help me." And that person, it's crazy because that person actually grew up to be Q-Banks. And so
You're
like,
kidding me.
yeah, this is
You're
like
kidding.
2016, because so that first strategy I had for like a year. So I was like, it was like a year of me like going up and down, mostly down. And then I just reached out to him and I was like, "Hey man, I see you're doing your thing." And this is like pre his Wall Street Academy and all that stuff. So
Really?
like, yeah.
Gosh,
And so
that is mad.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So it's like way before all of the Lambos and all that stuff. And yeah, and so this is like right around the time he was founding Forever and Profit. So yeah, he put me in his team, and he honestly, I'll give him a lot of credit because he gave me a lot of structure to my trading, and he helped me kind of see the markets in a more technical way. So I always will be forever grateful for that. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of how I
That's
got.
crazy. Yeah, this random guy just happened to be Q Banks.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what happened after that?
Yeah, so after that, I would say there was 1 or 2 other like kind of key, like I would say like mentors or like not programs, but like strategies that I kind of took in addition to his. Like I said, at QBanks, I'll give him a lot of credit just off of how he gave me like a technical approach to trading, and his style of trading kind of helped me understand the markets a lot better. And I took a combination of his stuff and a couple other just stuff, concepts like smart money traders and smart money concepts, and putting it all together. And I was able to kind of like structure my trading, and this took like years. Like, so I'm really shortening in the period, but I mean, this is like a 3 to 4 year period of me going through different trial and errors, taking different things, finding what type of trader I am emotionally when it comes to like my risk, my like managing my emotions, like what setups and what type of things work better with me. Taking my like, what type of like positions and indexes, I'm sorry, pairs or indexes or, work better for me. And a 3 to 4 year journey. And so by this time, it's like 2018, 2019. And being able to kind of put together a strategy that kind of made me consistent.
And so how did those the finances go with regard to, like, did you carry on blowing accounts, or did you decide I'm not going to fund them?
Yeah, so this is all pre like it's crazy. This is all pre like funding challenges and pre like most of the stuff. So at that time, I mean, they might have been out, but I had never heard of them going into like 2018 and 2019 was like when I really started hearing about prop firms in that space, or maybe 2020. But prior to that, like I was trading my own personal account. I had like a 5 grand account, and I was a 10 grand account, and I was taking positions, and I would win some trades, I would lose some trades, I would break even. And then, after really kind of taking apart, kind of taking a step back, and, my undergrad degree is in psychology. So I always look at things from like a very psychological manner. And so like really kind of analyzing like what I was doing as far as like, managing my emotions, looking at my overall strategy, and making sure that like, one of the things that I was doing like right off the bat was I was really focusing on trying to make more money instead of actually becoming a good trader. And I think that was one of the things that helped me a lot, was stop trying to focus on like, okay, you see these guys on the internet, you're not going to make $10 million in a day on one position. This is something that you build over time, making the right habits over and over and over again. It's like sports. Like once you kind of understand the fundamentals of a sport, then you can kind of build on that and become a better athlete in this sense. And so trader, and I guess in my field, right? And so it was, I wanted to focus on like, I guess, building good form, I guess, if I was to use a sports analogy, and so really making sure that I was, making my reads when I was analyzing the market, right, and taking things in a step-by-step approach. So I had a strategy that was kind of a combination of a few different things, and really making sure that like the first thing I did was write this down step by step as far as like what I'm looking for when I enter into the market, and then taking that information and applying it to every trading scenario. So like I'm entering the market based on this. I really like had the strategy down to a point where it was quantifiable, and I didn't have if it was something that I couldn't write down, I feel like it's a strategy you can't follow, right? And so like a lot of times I would just do stuff off of impulse in the market, like with just, okay, bullish momentum. I know this is not following my strategy, but it looks like it's going to go up, so let me just hit buy, right? And so like really managing like the impulses that you have with trading, and really sticking to something that was a quantifiable strategy. And so then at that point is when I kind of started to see incremental gains in my account. But that was only because I took the time out to not focus on the money that I would make in each trade, and making sure that like each time I'm going through a check down list and following that strategy to a T.
And so like getting into the minutiae around this, like, so were you back testing this to get data to help feed your live trading?
Yeah, so I would say like one of the things that really helped me is that like when I started TradingView, I can't remember what year it was that like TradingView actually became like a platform that everybody really started using. But I would say like before then, I didn't really have a way to like a easy way to go ahead and back test. Like I open up MetaTrader right, and just kind of go through and back test, and it took forever. But really, I would say another thing that really like kind of sped up my learning curve was utilizing like that replay option in TradingView, right? So like being able to go back and just sit there for hours and hours and hours, like when the markets close, when the weekends are hitting, and just sit there and just hit play on the candles and see, okay, this would be a buy, this would be a sell, this would be a loss. Like being able to kind of like quantify a strategy, my strategy before I even applied it to the real markets. So,
and when you went through that process of back testing, I mean, did you find it easy to stick to the rules? I mean, I don't know how many rules you had in there, but I'm guessing if you had quite a few, and it sounded like you did, was it easy to make sure you didn't cheat yourself out of a trade, or a loss becomes a win because of, but I would have done this, but I would have done that in this situation when you may or may not have?
Yeah. So the rules, sticking to the rules is a process. I literally had to beat those into me, right? So like you would stick to the rules for a trade, right? And then or maybe two, and then you'd see some success. Maybe you'd win, you'd go on a streak, and then you get a little happy, right? And then not stick to them, and then lose more than you should have, right? And so for me, like kind of developing these rules, it was a process that was like beat into me, like by taking losses, right? And so like it's not something that comes natural. So like you have to literally every time I push the button and I think about doing something impulsively, or like not following like the given rules that I lay out for myself, then I think about all the times that I've blown an account, blown an account, or done something stupid, just lost excessively.
Yeah.
All right, folks, I'm here at Black Bull Markets headquarters in Auckland, New Zealand. You can see this amazing view behind me of Auckland Harbour. Now, talking about views, if you do want to get free TradingView Pro, then all you need to do is trade one lot a month at Black Bull Markets, and they're going to give you free TradingView Pro. So, folks, to find out more, click the link in the description below or the card above.
And so in terms of like moving from back test to live, so there's that element of trying to marry up the timings and the execution. I mean, in a back test, you obviously got as much time as you want to line the trade up, and you can speed through the candles. In a live environment, you have to be at the charts at a certain time. Sometimes you're not always going to get every single trade for whatever reason. Something happens. The other thing is the time it takes to get your entry on, to line everything up, to do any calculations you need. How are you able to do that, and what timeframes were you working with to make it easy enough for you to be able to execute your trades?
Yeah. So the first thing that I'm really doing when I get to a beginning of a week of a trading session, right, is, I'm starting on those higher time frames. I'm starting on the weekly time frame, the daily time frame, and I'm getting a better understanding of like developing my bias for the week. Like, where do I think the price action is going to take these candles? And so with that in mind, the weekly, the daily, the 4 hour, right, I'm using those as kind of like my build bias, I guess, time frames. And so with that in mind, my whole week at that point is kind of trading in line with that bias. So then I'm going down to my lower time frames, like if I'm trading indexes, it could be my 5 minute, my 15 minute, my 1 minute time frames, those real small time frames, and everything is trading in line with that overall bias. I'm looking for, if I have a bullish bias coming into the week, then I'm looking for that on the smaller time frames. But then as far as I can't remember the other question.
So I'm trying to work out how you migrated from the ease of backtesting to the live environment where you haven't sort of build it into your day, execute trades on a time frame that is kind of maybe a lot quicker than what you've got when you're backtesting. So for example, you mentioned 1 minute there. So like, how were you able to sort of accommodate that trade entry on a 1 minute chart, when you've got 15 rules here or whatever it is to make sure they all match without making a mistake?
Yeah, so the bias having the bias eliminates a lot. Like I'd say like half of my rules are around developing the bias. The other set of rules are going to be more towards like the entries, like how you mentioned. And so like one, it's just kind of getting used to the speed that things happen on, especially on those lower time frames when you're looking for your entry. And so a lot of the rules that I have when it comes to trading are going to be more set around, they're going to be playing out as the candles are moving or painting, I guess. And so what I mean by that is like, if you go to, it's something that will happen in succession. So I can actively like reference my list as doing that. And then, so getting used to the actual candle speed, I took like a few months where I was like, okay, if I want to be consistent, like I kind of reference everything with sports analogies because I grew up playing sports. And so when you're a kid and you want to be like, if you want to go to like the NBA or the NFL or whatever it is, right, you're not sitting here thinking about being rich while you're doing it. You're enjoying the love of the game, and you're studying film, and you're like, you're saying, I want to be this guy, I want to be this guy, but not because you want to be rich, but because you just have a passion and a love for it. So I think developing the love and the passion for it was something that I had to do first. And as a result of that, there would be times that I would just sit and watch price action, right, during live sessions, and not push the button, not look to trade, and then really just get a better understanding of like, okay, what's the volatility during these particular times? How, like, where would I lose if I was losing? Because I feel like a lot of people study like how they would win or like how to win, but they also don't study like how they would lose or like where would they get caught up at. And so like making note of those things. And so like, we talked like offline about like how my I use the New York session as a time trading, my time of trading. And so like a lot of times I would just sit at the beginning of New York session, watch candles paint out, make notes on TradingView. So like TradingView becomes my notepad, and I'm just sitting here making notes saying, okay, this is where price, break structure. This is where price, this is where my entry would be. This is where I would look to get out of a trade. This is where, I would lose on a trade if I were taking positions. These are the same. And after a while, you kind of see a pattern of stuff playing out over and over if you're sitting during your session, during those set times. And so just getting used to the volatility, even before you demo trade, before my mind can attach a number to like how I'm trading. So like even in demo trading, if you push the button, you get so focused on just hitting that number. Instead of, making money on the trade and having the trade be a success, then you're actually just not studying, price action and how the candles are fanning. So I made it a point during that time to put away a demo account, put away a live account, and really just watch candles. And I did that for months during New York sessions until I felt comfortable that I knew where price was. Knew is not a great word, but had a great idea where price was going.
High probability, yeah.
High probability.
And okay, so let's skip forward a little bit. So you obviously started finding some consistency in what you were doing. How did you get from there to getting funded with $700K at the moment?
Yeah, so I would say at late 2019, I was so serious about trying to become a trader full time that I went back to school and got an MBA. And during that time, I was a full-time student. So I had more time. I wasn't working. I was in class, but I had, more time to kind of sit around the charts. And so the whole point of me going back to school was to get enough capital to throw into a trading account, and then start trading, right? Like with a better job when I graduated, right? So that was my goal. And then prop firms came out and that kind of defeated the whole purpose of me going back to school. So like it was funny. But during that time, I noticed that when I started, obviously sticking to the rules, sticking to like my dedicated strategy, I was able to turn an account. I was able to really start profiting on an account. So I took a $20,000 account to $49,000 in 3 months. And there was a lot of risk there. There was probably more risk than I employ now in my trading, but I saw the gains happen on a consistent basis. And so that kind of let me know, and it was right before I graduated, that I was on the right track with how I was doing things. And from there on, I kind of transitioned to the whole idea of prop firms and really just kind of set my sights on that.
And did you have any sort of setbacks as you did that transition? Were you able to get through these challenges? And I think at the time they definitely would have been time limit challenges as well.
Yeah. So like the main thing for me was that the first few challenges that I took, I honestly, and I wasn't a huge fan of the time limits on prop. I'm so glad that they got rid of a lot of the prop firms are starting to get away from those because you employ more risk than you should as a trader, just trying to trade within a month I guess a lot of them are like 30 days, I guess at that time to hit 10%. And so that's a lot of pressure. So getting used to that time limit, and even still, like for the firms that do still have them that I would, take challenges on, I'm employing a lot more risk than I feel comfortable with on a regular basis. So at the beginning, there was a lot of like, okay, maybe I'm just going to risk 2 or 3% on a trade here because I know that I'm not going to have that much time, and blow the account or blow the challenge because you're trying to force it. And so in the beginning, there was a whole lot of, like the fear of, there was a whole lot of over trading, and then there was the fear of, of FOMO, missing out. And so like all those emotions that you kind of have as a trader, they're magnified when you only have 30 days to hit a certain number. So there was a lot of trial and error, and just getting used to that. And that kind of helped me be more consistent over time, kind of find my groove.
And how many do you think you failed if you had to sort of count up?
And I'd say at least 10 of varying sizes at different times. So I wasn't taking them all at the same time. They all weren't the same account. I love like 100K is kind of like the standard that I go to, like when I want to try out a new firm, just like 100K. But I think I started there. Then I went down because I was like, okay, maybe it's just a money thing in my head. Like maybe if I see smaller numbers on the charts, then or in your terminal, then maybe it like I can, the psychology thing kind of kicks in a little bit. So I was like, okay, let me go down to a 50. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I just need to, I passed the 50. And then I was like, maybe I need to go up more, just to like a 200, and failed that one. And then, so there was like at least 10 challenges that I was going back and forth in the beginning before I really kind of like got my groove with the time limit. And then as soon as you get your groove with the time limit ones, then obviously now we don't have time limits anymore on most of them. So I was like, oh man, I could have just, if I had just waited a year or two out time and probably save some money.
And do you think, I'm sorry, with regards to withdrawals and keeping the accounts, are you able to stick within the boundaries? Have you got any special tactics you use around managing the accounts that you've got?
Yeah. So for me, I risk I risk about 0.5% per position. And so that really doesn't change much. So my thing is, you had a trader on a while ago. I think his name was like Jay Capital. And I watched your interview with him, and he talked about how, and actually kind of followed the guy afterwards. And he talks about all the time about how he doesn't want to risk a lot on his trades. He just wants to max out the amount of capital that he gets, right? So like instead of taking $100,000 funded account and saying, okay, I'm going to make 20% on this in a month, I'm going to get $1 million worth of capital, right? And then just only risk like 0.5% per trade on that. And so that was something that was like really profound for me. So it kind of changed my like the way that I looked at the funded accounts and honestly trading in general. Because up until that point, my whole goal was like, okay, like even when I went back to school, it was like, okay, I just need to stack $30,000 aside, and this $30,000, I can be a professional trader off this 30,000, because I would watch people like Q Banks, or I would watch, other traders take these accounts and do these flips. And then I realized that, that's not sustainable, right? So I might have a run where I could double or triple that account, right? And I did. I doubled that $25,000 account that I mentioned, but it's not sustainable in the long run, right? You're going to take way more losses than you should. And if you think about big banks, big hedge funds, and those type of things where they're like the real professional traders, they're not taking $10 billion of capital and trying to double it, in a short amount of time, right? So kind of having like a more standard idea or more traditional idea to trading, and saying, okay, I can, as long as I just make, 1% to 2% a trade, and maximize the amount of capital that I have, then I'll be in a better position than the person that's trying to risk 20% or 5% on a trade, or 2%, right? So,
and have you ever got into like a serious drawdown on one of these live funded accounts?
Yeah. I mean, they're one of the accounts. So I use a trade copier when I trade on the positions, but then I also always keep one outside that trade copier, and I kind of use that as insurance and or the account that I'm going to risk a little bit more on, and have fun with it. And so on that account, you get a payout, it resets. And so one month I came out of the gate and lost like about two consecutive trades in a week at 2% risk. So I'm already down like 4% on that account. You obviously get 5 on the day and then 10 overall. And so at that point, you kind of just have to reel yourself back in, because, when you're down, the emotions start creeping in, and then you try to make, home run plays instead of just taking it systematically, saying, okay, 4% is really only, that's only 8 winning trades if you're trading 0.5%, even if you're just breaking, on a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, right? So, so getting down on that account, I was able to bring it back by just thinking small and just saying step by step, kind of the same way that like my approach to trading in general, right? And sticking to my rules and making sure that, my form is good on every trade, right? And so, by that, I was able to, bring it back. But yeah, it's not, drawdown is not fun at all.
And so you talked about before the show, actually, you told me that you're basically making the same amount you make from trading as you do in your day job. So at what point do you think you're going to go, well, I could now drop the day job?
Yeah. So the crazy part about that is like, I'm not in a rush to do that, only because, for me, like I'm a very like if my friends will tell you this, like my girl will tell you this, like I'm a very systematic person. When I do something, like I need like structure, and I need like a really well thought out process. Like I'm not the type of person that will just like up and quit my job for anything, or like jump into like an agreement or a bill or something like that without really thinking out like how this is going to get covered, right? And so for me, I trade better just knowing that I have another source of income like sitting there waiting on me. So I know that like I could lose 20% in the day in the markets, right? And then I still have a job that's coming back too. And so I was able to, like, the way that my trading is set up, I was able to get my trading down to a way that it almost went hand in hand with my job. So so long story short, like I don't know if I'll ever leave. There will come a day, I'm sure that I'll look back and I think the number in my head is double. So if I make double of what my job is through trading, then I'll look to leave. But like as of right now, I think I'm good. You think about like insurance in the United States and all that crazy stuff that you got to pay for outside of your actual like bills and stuff. So I don't think a lot of people think about that too when they're contemplating leaving. So
yeah, and I suppose double is like a double on a consistent basis. So you ought to be looking to. Did you have like a funding target to say, well, if I get this much funding, then I can double? I mean, I'll essentially make double if I just do the same thing and risk the same amount.
Yeah. So right now I'm at 700,000 in funding, but the number isn't necessarily as important because a few months ago I said if I hit 1 million, I would do it. Like I would leave, right? Because and systematically in my head, I'm like, okay, if I can make 2 to 5% a month on 1 million, that's way more than like I'll ever need. But I don't think it's a number per se as much as it's just a consistency basis. So if I can hit those numbers over a 6-month, year long period, and then with that being like the times of the year that I don't trade, it's like the summers that I don't look to trade as much because of the low volatility or like around Christmas time, right? I stay out of the market. So if I can manage to double during those periods, then then I'll leave. So not necessarily a number. I guess the new number is like 2 million, but I keep pushing it out. So
Right. And so like, in terms of like, so are you also doing any personal account trading as well? Because you're obviously getting this, cash coming through and you don't necessarily need it, I suppose. How are you reinvesting that?
Yeah. So one, I invest a lot into like for like just your traditional, like normal, like if I have a job investing vehicles like 401k, Roth IRAs, right? And so I take some money out and put it into that. But then I do also feed my personal account because I always get nervous. So this is years ago, but the first funding account challenge that I passed was with this company called Funding. It was what was it? Funding, not Funding Talent. It might have been Funding Talent, but it was the one that went down a couple of years ago.
Right.
So I had an account with them and I got it like literally 2 weeks before they shut down and the CEO was like, hey, we're not doing this anymore. And so ever since then, I've always been kind of nervous about like prop firms in general. I think there's a lot of good ones out there. But I'm just nervous because at the end of the day, it's a company and, any company can go under. And if you go under with 2 million in capital now, I don't have a way to make money. So I'm always like taking some money aside and profits from that and putting it into like my personal account or just putting it aside for, to put in my personal account in the event of like losing trades or losing an account.
Okay. And so are you using this trade copier to copy across the personal accounts as well, or?
Yeah, it's a little different though. I keep that one separate just because when you trade indexes, like every broker calculates like them differently. So like NASDAQ, like a standard lot over like 20 points might give you like $20,000 on like one of the like a certain broker. I think it's like discount brokers. I don't know the proper terminology for it, but like everybody calculates them differently. So because of that, I stay out because I usually, all my accounts are like 1-to-1s. Like I don't really like, all the accounts that are hooked up to the trade copy are 1-to-1. So like if it's one lot on this account, it's going to be one lot on this account.
Okay.
Unless they're different sizes, then it'll multiply. But if it doesn't directly like translate, I guess, then it could mess up that smaller account that I have. So just want to stay out of it altogether.
So you sort of don't really trade the personal account now. You just sort of leave that alone, and you know that if you did need to trade it, you could, for whatever reason, you go and trade it.
Yeah, every once in a while, I pull a position on that, but for the most part, I'd rather leverage other people's capital.
Okay, it's interesting. Right, so let's dive into talk about some, I suppose, stats around your trading to start off with. So, I mean, what would be your winning percentage and risk to reward ratio?
Yeah, so my winning percentage is about 69%, so just shy of 70%. So in that during that time, I can go through like periods where I'm trading higher than that, right, and obviously lower than that too. So like drawdowns, I can be like damn near break even, like 5 for 5 out of 10 trades or something like that. But if I look back across like the last year or two of trading, it's about 68, 69%. So
And risk to reward?
risk to reward. So I look for 1 to 2s and up. The style that I trade, when I because I'm taking entries most of the time on indexes on very small time frames, that like 1 minute, 5 minute, my risk to reward is usually going to be pretty high. My stop losses are going to be usually really, really tight. 10, 15 points usually. It depends on the setup, but usually the setup and my take profits are always at least a 1 to 2.
And how many hours are you at the charts?
So the cool thing is I have my strategy really centers around kind of like catching the high of the day and trading it to the low of the day. And so I'm on the charts. Usually the high of the day is going to be formed around like 9:50. If you're trading indexes, 9:30, 9:45, like right after the open. So I'm on the charts from about that time till 11 a.m. every day. So out of those days, I'll look to take a position at least 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what news is going on. If it's like an NFP week or if FOMC week, then I will be out of the markets usually around like Wednesday, and just kind of let the rest of the week play out. But yeah.
And what are the markets you're trading?
So indexes are going to be the majority of what I trade now. I still, every once in a while, I'll try to catch the forex markets and specifically like Euro, AUD, USD, GBP, JPY during a New York session. But I New York session trade, and then it's mostly indexes.
And what's the average duration of your trades typically?
Yeah, I mean, the longest they will run that entire hour that I'm in the markets when it comes to indexes. And then the shortest, I mean, I've been in and out of positions as quick as like 15 minutes. So like between 15 minutes and an hour usually.
And how do you manage the position? So you said 2R. What happens after that? Do you break even, take partials, or just get out?
So if the setup isn't quite at my take profit, I will hold until the end of if I'm in a position, like that window is usually when I'm looking to enter a position. If I'm already in a position and it's not quite where I want it to go by 11, like I'll hold till like that lunchtime hour on my indexes.
And so what does your typical trading day / week look like?
Yeah. So on the beginning of the week, so honestly, like right about this time, like Sunday nights, my times when I crack open the markets for the week and really start looking I go to my higher time frames, like my weekly, my daily, and just kind of outline like what I think my bias is going to be for the week. And so kind of outlining, where I think price might go to, particular levels of note. And then so it kind of factors into like why I can make my trading sessions so short when I actually step to the terminal, because I'm doing a lot of the pre-work ahead of time. So Sundays, but particularly Mondays, I'm just trying to get a better sense of like where our weekly higher time frame like candles are going to move to. And then so really once I have that bias, I'm just like leaving that as the, in my trading view notes as where I'm, where I think obviously the price is going to move. And then just every day trading in line with that bias until we hit, the overall higher time frame target. So,
and so during the day, you what time do you jump on the chart, and how do you structure that around your job?
Yeah. So thankfully, I'm in a position where I work in a different time zone than I live, and I live on Eastern time zone, and so I'm working on a different time zone, and so I'm able to kind of undividedly. It doesn't overlap most days. And so I come to the charts every day at around 8:30. So pre-market, just to get a better sense of like what's happened overnight. A lot of times you'll see, well, not a lot of times, but enough times you'll see a move that happens in like, I guess what would be considered the London session for indexes, like that 3:30 to 8:30 Eastern Standard Time window. So really just kind of getting a better note of what's happened the night before. And then outlining, where I think price is going to go and move to throughout my session. Like I said, making note of those intraday levels of note of those intraday levels, and then looking for potential setups when the market hits around 9:30. So
Okay, and from a I suppose a price chart point of view, what three things would you recommend somebody like focus on or start studying to get the kind of knowledge that you've got?
yeah, you said sorry, I missed the first part of that.
Oh, so focusing on a price chart, what three things would you recommend that somebody study?
Yeah, I would say, um, wow, that's a good question. So I would say the three things that I would look for is um, directional bias, like how to build that when you're working on your intraday timeframes, really getting a better sense of your key levels, your breakup structures, and potential reasons as to why your trade might go the opposite way, right? So I'm always looking for high probability setups. So getting a better understanding of like where your trade might fail or why your trade might fail, kind of helps strengthen my like belief in the trade when I actually take it. Because if I can't find why this will go against me, then a lot of times it might be a winner. So
Yeah, it's good. It's a great call and a great thing to add to anyone's trading plan. What about like from a trading mindset point of view? Do you do anything to set yourself up? Have you had to like tackle mindset issues in the during your journey?
yeah. So I'm big into like the more and more I go along in my trading journey, the more and more I realize that like the emotional side of trading is key, or like the psychological aspects of trading. And so I spent a lot of time just understanding who I am as a person. Because I feel like a lot of the faults that you might have as a person kind of like manifest in your trading. So like for me, like again, anybody in my life will tell you that like part of me loves to argue, a part of me loves to be right, right? And so like when I'm in the charts, when I'm taking a position and trading, a lot of times I will, until I caught this, I will want to look at the market and just be right. And so like if I take a position, there might be clear signs that the market's going to go against me, and I'm just focused on being right. And so, you take the loss, right? And because I want to be right so bad, maybe I might double up and get back in the market without any clear signs, right? And so like kind of understanding like my faults emotionally and my faults psychologically as a person kind of helped me like understand more of like what I shouldn't be doing as a trader, which is one of the reasons I stick to my rules as closely and as tightly as I do. Um, but then it also kind of allowed me to take positions and take high probability positions that kind of fall in line with how I am as a trader. Like I'm very antsy when I'm on the charts. Like I get very itchy, so I can't be a swing trader. So I don't even look to trade because having a position on, I will constantly be checking my phone as it is. Like every day I check my phone like way too much. Like I might have cell phone addiction. I don't know, just for normal stuff. So I don't need to be checking my phone like extra, like
Yeah.
every off session hours, just seeing if my position is still there. Right. So I'm not a like whole set it and forget it guy. So but understanding who I am like as a person kind of helped me structure my trading in a way that benefits like me most, which is like I said, scalping in and out in an hour. And yeah, I mean, just I would say that would be the biggest thing is like understanding who I am first and foremost, and understanding where again I can fail as a person and as a trader emotionally is kind of
And
like what.
did you do any trade journaling, or journaling
Yeah.
your emotions at any time?
Yep. So I would say like the one thing I know, it's funny because like I know a lot of people or like in this trading community are always talking about like I would have just traded instead of going to college, or I would have just traded instead of working a job. But I feel like a lot of those skills that I had that make me successful in trading is kind of stuff that I've gotten from school and jobs, right? So like being organized, being able to like manage projects. Like in my day job, I manage like $1 million projects. And so um being able to like the level of organization that you got to have to do that, you also have to have in trading. And so like being able to look at this as a business first and foremost, like you wouldn't work a 9 to 5 and not keep a record of the sales that you had that day, or where you lost money and where you made money, right? And so like um journaling every day, keeping a note of the trades that I had, and then I just use that as back testing research. So when the trading day is over, I'm going back into the chart saying, okay, cool, I took a loss here. And why did I take a loss? Getting a better understanding. Did I jump the gun? Did I not stick to my rules? Was there a psychology aspect that I failed on? Or did I do everything and I just lost, right? Did I just miss the shot because whatever, as long as my form is good and I follow everything, then I'm good. So, but having a journal of all that stuff, it really, it made a difference. Honestly, it was probably one of the things that contributed to me winning more and starting to become better, I guess.
And how did you do the journaling? Was it software or just hand drawn stuff? What did you do?
Yeah, this is spreadsheets. So an Excel spreadsheet of just like the day, the pair, the trade, the entry price, the exit price, like all the stuff that you'd see like on the MT4 terminal, just making a note of that. And then some like extra notes as far as what you were feeling in that trade, right? So like there's been plenty of times where, especially when I was going through like my impulsive trading cycle, like where I would just like lose and then like, because I hate to lose, and that's another like character fault, right? It's like I hate to lose. So there would be days where I would lose the trade and then just like I said again, to need to be right. And so I would double up on my position, or I would just say I need to get break even and I just need to get the money back that I lost because I need to win. I need to be right about my bias or right about my direction or right about the fact that I'm pushing the button. And so I would see them in the charts. It's like, okay, cool. You took a position, you lost, then you doubled up. So you disregarded your risk management strategy. And then you still lost on top of that because you were still wrong about the bias, right? And so like to seeing all that stuff in writing, it makes it real apparent that it's like, if you're going to be good at this, you need to like, one, follow your rules. You need to like do all the things that you're doing in theory. You need to make sure that you carry them out, because every time you don't stick to that, there's real world consequences. So
folks, if you're looking for an automated trade journal or trade copier, then check out my sponsor, Swift Journal. They connect to your MetaTrader 4 or 5 broker or prop firm and give you amazing insights into your trading. To get 20% off, click the link in the description and use coupon code TradingNut. Cool. Right. What we're going to do now is going to jump to a quick fire round, ask a couple of questions, not too many, and get a wrap up of the show. So to start off with, if you had to recommend somebody a trading book or a resource, where would you point them?
Yeah, I mean, the standard, I guess, is Trading in the Zone, right? Like the emotional psychological book. But I would say like focusing more on, like I said, knowing who you are as a person is probably the bigger. So like if I could point you to a resource, point you to yourself, or there's a lot of good traders out there online. Like I said, one of my mentors was Q Banks. So say check out his resources. But there's a ton of a reputable source, I guess.
And do you want to walk us through your worst ever trade?
Yeah, my worst ever trade in one day. So we talked about how I turned that $25,000 account into $48,000. So going on that win streak and this was over a quarter, so like a 4-month period, right? Between January of 21 to like June of I guess 2 quarters, June of 2021. So towards the end of that, I took a position where I was feeling myself a little too much and ended up losing like 7% of that in a day. So like a little over like $4,000 in a day on that $48,000. So something like that. It was a little bit more than that, but like about 7% on that day. So
how did you come back from that? What was that like?
Man, I put the charts down for like a month and then said, I can't, like, if I'm going to do this, because it's real money, it's not profit money, it's not money, right? So it's like, man, I could have took that $4,000 and just put that on my car or paid something off with it, right? And I mentioned before, I went back to school, so I had student loans that are about to, so like all that stuff, I was just thinking about all the stuff I could have used that money for, and just thinking about how I was going to stick to my rules the next time.
What about your preferred broker and trading platform and prop firm? Look, folks, I know you want the answer to this question. Which broker is this trader using? Now, the answer has been sponsored by Black Bull Markets. So to find the answer out, you're going to need to go over to tradingnut.com, find the show notes page for this guest, and then all will be revealed. Awesome. And the final question before we wrap up, if there was one bit of advice you could leave our listeners with, what would it be?
Yeah, this is a marathon. This is like, anybody who's done this and done it successfully. I've watched millions of your interviews, man. Like, and the one thing that I took away from a lot of them, the successful ones, is that they're treating it like a marathon and not a sprint. And so making sure that you treat this as like a 10-year plan, right? It took me I'd say the better part of 10 years to become consistent as a trader. And so, every day, just do the little things and they'll eventually add up to or your quote unquote overnight success.
Yeah, indeed. With so many things. Look, before you wrap up, what's the best way for traders to get hold of you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Brinks Trades. That's my Instagram profile. And then also YouTube, Brinks Trades as well. BRINX Trades.
Cool. Well, look, a big thank you to Blake for sharing with us today. Everything we've discussed here, along with all those links, will be in the show notes on tradingnut.com. Until next time, wish all my listeners trading happiness and success. All right, folks, there we have it. Interview with Blake done and dusted. Do remember we did shoot a video after this where he breaks down his trading strategy, top-down analysis, all the way down, trading the NAS 100 market open. You're going to see him take an entry on the 1 minute chart and a few little tricks in there as well. That's dropping on the YouTube channel. Go and check it out. Whilst you're over there, hit subscribe, like, and that notifications bell, because you're going to get access to the live streams that are dropping here where everyone's taking on that Blue Guardian challenge. Well, pretty much all of the traders are, including myself. And we've got those weekly recaps to check out as well. And last but not least, we've got the Mystery Trader hitting the channel. And if you're looking to automate anything that you do, then check out my Robot Builders Club. Let's hear about it now. Tired of missing trades or spending hours at the charts? Introducing my Robot Builders Club. With our platform, you can build bots in minutes, not weeks, without any coding required. Get lifetime access to my video course, VIP community, and over 40 ready-made robots. Works with MT4 or MT5, and as a bonus, you'll get 3 months access to my robot lab, where we build and test bots on live calls every week. Join the hundreds of traders who are trading smarter, not harder. Click the link in the description to learn more, get the free training, and download a free robot.